Hello everybody, that's the final wrap-up from the main room, and I was just sleeping for a moment there, but I'm back.
We've got rather too casual after the last few days in this wonderful bloggers lounge.
I was totally asleep.
Digital studio.
Yeah, so it's been a bit mad really. I've never really done a live stream where we've gone from one main room to a bloggers lounge and then carried on the conversation between one place and another place. But it's gone really well, and I actually want to build on it. I want to build on it with live streaming cameras that people can float between different rooms.
Before we go any further, if you go to the Twitter feed or the hashtag, there should be some retweets about a Google Hangout that's taking place now. If you do want to comment, do jump into the Hangout. It's running. I'm not sure if the audio is working from us, but we'll be able to hear you. You might not be able to hear us because we've had Skype on. So do jump in on that link if you want to come and ask us a question.
Where is that link?
It's in the Twitter stream.
Whereabouts in the Twitter stream? Twitter's big.
Twitter stream. It's on hashtag ArtsAud14.
Cool.
Which will be monitored, and we will be looking at that for the next 7 days. We'll be putting out polls.
Yeah.
We'll be linking out some of the blog posts, some of the content that the bloggers have made.
Yeah. What's been your favourite thing, take away from this in the last couple of days?
I think just the way the Bloggers Lounge has really pulled together these young bloggers or these young people who've never met before. They're all transmedia artists, really, whether they understand what that means or not. And they've come together, and in 48 hours, they decided that they were going to put on a little introduction. They went up and did their talks. We communicated with the technical team, and they had their presentations. And I think...
Completely fearless. Completely
fearless. And I think one of the things that has come back from the audience, I've heard a few people say, is that they've not had the opportunity to engage in a new way. They've very much been locked in an old-fashioned method of engagement.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how we can take this experience and actually feed back some of this back to them of how next year it can be a little bit more integrated. Because hopefully you've had a good time.
I love the fact that... half of them weren't bloggers. Half of them were not on Twitter.
Guys, if you want to come in, if you want to sit in.
Half of them weren't on Twitter. Half of them were not bloggers.
Too late.
But also things like podcasting and stuff is that this kind of thing of not having to define that they're bloggers because they do a podcast. I mean, I kind of like that. I've always thought that if I was doing a podcast or some text or whatever, then I was automatically a blogger. But I'm realising now that the disconnect for me, being ancient, is that I need the form and factor where actually just doing stuff and getting on with it is a way forward. So I personally want to thank you guys for helping me in my 40s, ask myself some questions about just keep going and doing it and getting on with it rather than being a cantankerous old bugger and just I must think about it, slow down. So I've really enjoyed working with you guys for the last couple of days.
We've got to the end of day 2. We appear to have lost the microphone.
Oh, it's here. No.
Shall we
Magnus
start Magnus and go around?
Well, thank you guys. I mean, you've as you know, and as we've all talked about, is that we may or may not be bloggers or whatever, but you have done an amazing job pushing us over the edge and just also be sort of like a great old teacher, saying you just have to do like this and it'll all work out. It was really nice. It made us all feel comfortable. I'm sure, at least made me feel quite comfortable.
Cool, man. That's really nice to hear. That's really nice to hear.
A lot.
Do you want to pass it around for the last couple of days? I mean, Scott,
Scott's got something to say, right?
Scott's got loads of takeaways from the last couple of days. Must be.
Well, I just want to express my gratitude to you guys and to everyone else. This is, like I said, I had no idea what to expect in terms of what this group was going to be like, and I thought it was really incredible, and I think we're walking away with, a family, an ohana, as we say in Hawaii.
Family.
Yeah. Wait, what was the question?
The question was, the last couple of days, what's the biggest kind of takeaway from it for you? And I guess it was that, you never expected it to be the synchronicity of us getting on.
Yeah, and just, I'm so inspired by the projects that, you guys are doing, just and as artists and as culture makers, but also that everyone else in the field is doing. I think, this is my first time jumping into the arts and culture field, and I'm from the startup field, so I kind of have this vision or perception that arts and culture people needed to catch up and they weren't in, and but now that I've been here and ever since I got to Iceland and started immersing myself in the culture and the community, it's totally changed. I would say artists are pretty much at the forefront.
Right.
They're pushing a lot of these, innovations, and
And most of this is just language, right? It's just deciphering the language that they're used to and have been used to and kind of finding the bits in between it.
Yeah, and it was something that, and then you said something so beautiful about expressing yourself versus expressing what the audience expects to hear.
Swap seats, so you can be in the shot and then pass it over. Swap. No. Oh, we're all doing sweeps.
What now?
Okay. Oh, wait, swap. Wait.
Stop.
What is
Sit.
swap it?
Sit.
Sitting.
Sit. Go over there.
Okay.
And I thought that was just so beautiful. And so that was really powerful.
Thank you. But I feel so lucky that I have had to have this experience, and yeah, thank you too. you need to thank you, Phil, for when I was nervous before. You were helping me, and you learned me how to use Twitter and everything. So thank you so much, and I'm so glad I met you all.
Awesome. Rebecca? Last couple of days, anything that you would have really taken away from this? Or anything changed for you in terms of how you interpret conferences? No?
I've never been at a conference before.
Aha! So maybe that's
you
the
also
thing.
like to reflect and edit and take some time.
Yeah,
so
it's
this
all
sense
way
of
too
having
fast
to do
for me.
Stuff, how have you learnt anything in your process that you might speed yourself up, or do you think you're happy with your pace and it's
I think I'm
reinforced?
happy with my pace, and I also feel like I'm by nature a person who questions everything. I think.
Yeah.
And I start to question it feels like so much digital culture is just for the sake of it.
Too much.
Yeah, but it's a tool. It's not like a goal in itself,
Right.
and people have repeated that here. But I also think it's very interesting to put it in context with the discussion we have about our generation being the most individualistic ever, or in Sweden it was a book published this year called Generation Ego, about how our generation only looks at ourselves, and when everyone is supposed to be the creator who is supposed to listen, and there's a lot more philosophical questions that rise up in me.
That's the key thing about audience, isn't it? That we are encouraging audiences to co-create, and it does become an audience of artists. I mean, a lot of times when you start a project, because your peers are the people that are going to validate your experiences, to start with, as any artist, their initial audience is their friends who are probably artists. So it is, how do you extend beyond that, and do you want to? I mean, that's
yes,
what does
and
it mean to the audience?
what does it mean to participate and to be engaged? I think just listening is to be engaged and to participate, and maybe if you are at the place where you listen, then you come pretty far. The problem is that people aren't listening, and not being audience. And when you are not audience, you will never take the step and then create.
I think that's it. There is that part of audience which is the awed, which is to listen.
Ida?
Yeah.
Ida?
Ida.
Oh, see, that's there.
Yeah, I'm amazed how low-key everything has been. As you were saying as well, this being pushed into the digital world, I also had this step this few days. I was very oh shit, now I'm into it. And it has been very overwhelming and everything is going really fast. But it has been, it's been a good experience. It has been overwhelming, but it's it was really, really fun.
Cool.
It was.
Well, magnificently, we're coming back over here. Then we've got a guest who's been joining us in the Bloggers Lounge. You've been roped in here. And then we do have Catherine from New York to have a chat to us about Virtual Arts TV, about how she's perceived the conference from her side.
She's been watching the stream, has she?
Yeah.
Cool. So, Björk?
Yeah, when I came here, I didn't know what I was going to be doing until 20 minutes after I came. So it's definitely been, in some ways, the same that I expected and a lot different than I expected. I definitely overdosed on Twitter yesterday. I had never used it so much. I'd never used hashtags before. I just knew what they were, and I'd never looked at hashtags. And it was, as you said, really fast. It was like saying something in a forest. Does anybody hear it if it's does it get anything? I don't know. But yeah, has been interesting. I liked I got to do breakout session yesterday, and it was really nice talking about like how we are funding out the projects we're doing and how we're getting people inside it and why people engage and why not. But I think like there's a difference between being an audience and being engaged. Like I've been an audience at this conference, but I've also dozed off a couple of times, like literally dozed off.
Yeah.
So it's like you have audiences, but like are they engaged? Yeah.
Right.
And I think maybe this conference could have thought about how
maybe
to
shorter
engage.
versions for a certain age group. You know, like Twitter's 140 characters. Maybe we need like 140 minutes of chunks. You know, like I want this amount of learning and this amount of teaching. Bang, done, out the door, and then come back or go to another location. So I like the idea of moving between places myself.
Yeah.
Be able to make content, make video, do reflection podcasts and audio between different places.
But I also like to be able to reflect on what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
This maybe hasn't been the time.
Which I think natively, if you do use technology, you start to use technology, you start to do that better, I think, because you can just post-it note out somewhere. Do we want to introduce this lady? Would you like to be on the stream? Do you want to swap places?
Yeah.
Because that'll be great.
My name is Anna, and I'm a could call cultural bureaucrat. I work for the Nordic Council of Ministers, and we have funded this conference. And we have had especially emphasis on having you here. We have a Nordic Children and Youth Committee, and they have especially supported this part of the conference because it's very important for us that we will have this element in the conference. And for me personally, your participation have been the most interesting part for me. I have learned so much. First, I hear that for some of you, you're not all of you familiar with Twitter and hashtag. It's not only me. We're beginners, but I think that you represent so much knowledge and resources and energy. And we need that in the Nordic cooperation, and I'm sure that we will be in touch with you later on because we really need you in the Nordic cooperation. So thank you very much for giving us all your energy. And one little thing I will say more is that the most given thing about the conference have been the meeting with other people and possibility to have a dialogue, because it is a little paradox that we have a whole conference on audience engagement and we have just been sitting in a dark room and basically not speaking with each other and having an exchange. And we should think in new ways of having maybe small dialogue circles like here, having one topic on the table, developing ideas, things like that. Because the old way of doing things, I think it's over. We have to invent new ways of learning. Yeah. Because you really get fed up with information.
So were you aware that there was a live streaming element taking part in this conference, that we were going to be, as I say, we're live at the moment to an audience who can't necessarily be here. So we've had this inquiry, which is to be on the ground or in the cloud, and this is something that we want to continue a little bit of a dialogue for the next 7 days with polls, email addresses of the people who did sign up for online. We want to stay in touch with the bloggers here as well. We'll see if we can follow up with the blog posts that they've got. So the content that we create, almost, we've had the planning leading up to it, and we prepared and we travelled and we came here and created the conference. But actually the experience itself going into the digital age is the next 2 stages, which is to reflect on where we've been and to report on what happened. And those are the 2 stages that are coming out from here. So how do you feel about live?
Being live here, as I said before, the best thing was meeting with other people, but it doesn't exclude that we can combine it with also being a part of an experience in the cloud.
Yeah.
And I think that within the Nordic cooperation, we have this big challenge that we can't afford to travel all that, and we can't afford it concerning the environment to have all these flights. I've been in Iceland 7 times this year. I'm very happy, but it's not very sustainable. So we have to invent other dialogue formats.
So we've just had another sneak visitor. So shall we?
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Monica, would you like to swap? Yeah,
Yes.
somewhere. It's like musical chairs.
Musical chairs. Chairs.
Monica is from Creative Europe, fascinated by culture and nature, according to her bio. Had a good 2 days?
Wonderful, thank you.
So, any questions, any thoughts about the last 2 days? What's really for you watching this as a practitioner?
Well, my position is a bit special because in the European Commission with Creative Europe, which is the EU program for culture and creative sectors, we really try to be a facilitator. So basically, a little bit like a cultural institution, we are serving, if you want, the EU population, like you serve artists and audiences alike. So we are trying to create the best conditions for people to learn with each other. And indeed, there has been a very intensive learning process here for me. I came here to hear what people are doing, to find very good examples of projects that I can present them to a bigger audience. I mean, we have our audiences as well, as we discovered yesterday, or as we heard yesterday. And I really want to stimulate the process of exchange. So I would say the 2 keywords for me maybe are change and exchange. There is a huge degree of change happening in the cultural world. And we need to share this with as many people as possible and create the conditions for the learning to be as fast as possible, because we don't have time. There is a kind of a pressure of time here, of resources,
Sure.
and linked to a lot of topics that you already know about. That would be it.
And on that topic, I think we probably have our New York connection.
She's just been in a meeting.
Has she dialed? Is she
Definitely there.
Not yet. She will be. She will be there. No, I think for me, for the last couple of days, like I said, the bloggers have been amazing. I don't know if you saw the stats, but from the live stream, we had probably about 2 and a bit million impressions, which doesn't really make a lot of sense in terms of Twitter, but we've had 150,000 unique impressions on Twitter accounts. So that means collectively across...
What does it mean, an impression?
Yeah, impression. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it was early days of the internet when you had web pages. Anything connecting to that website is an impression. So it could be a computer, it could be a camera, a security camera getting a picture from a page. So actually, in the early days of the internet, people used to say, your page has had 1 million views, but not, 10% of it was maybe a human. So it's actually irrelevant and not actually a good stat.
Yeah,
really,
so if you've got an advert, it might have 1,000 impressions, which means it's been on 1,000 screens, but whether 1,000 people have actually looked at it.
Yeah.
So the unique views is an engagement where someone has actually looked at it.
Yeah. So across all the different, we've had 140,000 impressions of the tweet wall, but that actually, and the interactions between each other as well. The audience that we've got with just these 6 bloggers and people either retweeting it or getting involved with it, it enhances that digital experience online that people start to go, oh, something must be happening there. There's a lot of conversation online going on. So it's done really well. I've never seen so much traffic in 4 hours. In the first day, in the 4 hours, maybe it's because we're all dead keen and we wanted to take part and we're like exploring with it. But in 4 hours, I think it was nearly about 900,000, 1 million impressions, about 100,000 uniques, which is quite good for a team of 6. So I think if you find your ambassadors and your brand advocates in your countries, or invest in young bloggers and give them the resources that they need, you can put proper teams together around this stuff. Not just to amplify it and get more people in to pay for stuff, but actually these are the next culture makers. They're coming up with stuff all the time that needs to be supported, I guess. Right, where are we at?
Yeah.
Do we have anybody on Skype, or are we going to close? Are we going to close up?
I think we'll have a chat to Catherine
Another time.
And if we record that, we'll share that with you, bloggers, because I know someone mentioned Virtual Arts TV in their little feedback.
Oh, it was,
she's great insights. So I think that's it.
Close it up.
So thank you very, very much for watching. Please do tweet. Even if you blog, do include the hashtag within your blog tags, because when we search Google with the hashtag, we will still be able to pull your stuff out. Yeah. Do tweet myself at PCM Creative.
At Phil Campbell. Anybody else on Twitter
Anybody
now?
else want to go out their Twitter names?
They're like, no, I don't want people to follow me. That'd be terrible. I've already just signed up. I don't need the rest of it.
And of course, there's 2 minutes. Can we do 2 minutes?
God. What, until she turns up?
What she said?
She is typically New York. Hope you're watching this stream. And I can imagine that she's just jumped out of the yellow cab
let's
now.
Let's give for 5 minutes.
Magnus, if you have to go for free drinks, Magnus, then you're going to go, aren't you? I mean, like, let's be honest. We can close up. The bloggers can go if you want to go. It's been really great. Thank you guys for helping out and stuff. We will close up with Catherine and to get her reaction remotely from America, from New York. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monica.
Because she has been following along for the last 2 days. Thank you very much. Lovely to have you on the set. Thank you very much. Yeah, so she's been following along. Catherine's been following along from New York, and she does a lot of audience development in the US.
So there's a bit of a time zone thing going on there, which we've had. So
it's lunchtime for her.
Yeah, so she's just
So we're going to get a picture, hopefully, from Catherine from Virtual Arts TV at Virtual Arts TV on Twitter. She's going out to about 1,500, 2,000 schools in terms of getting live streaming functionality into the schools, in terms of putting out events and stuff. I presume that's what I picked up on. So it would be great to find out a bit more about that.
I think when, you introduced me to Catherine via Skype, in fact, and I've been interested in taking theatre performances and the potential of live streaming technology to places where people wouldn't necessarily get the opportunity to see things. And this is the thing, although the experience of being live is very key, I think if you don't have the privilege of being live, you should have an experience that you have access to anyway.
Here she is! Hey! We got it working. Hey guys, welcome to New York. Hello, New York. How are you?
Where's that camera?
Oh my God! The camera's up. Which camera are we
Which
at?
camera are we on?
It's on the actual thing.
We're on there.
Yeah.
Oh, we're there.
Oh, hi. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can totally hear you.
Awesome. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, all good. So, welcome at Virtual Arts TV on Twitter. You're at the Audiences Europe event via the live stream at Reykjavik, Iceland, which is very, very cool. And you are our closing segment, really. Have you been following along today, or have you been?
Not as much today.
Okay.
But yesterday, instructions of not being there.
All right. So what happened yesterday? You watched some of the stuff. I know you had some feedback from people. So.
I jumping out. Well, this is the thing, and you know this, Phil, about me, and you guys both know this. Jumping out of my skin, because what you guys are talking about in the UK and in Scandinavia is stuff that we're having a harder time kind of embracing in the United States. But it's stuff that I have been passionate about for years, talking about like how important it is for the online audience to feel like they are part of an event and that it makes them feel larger than themselves, and the openness to like testing and changing and trying and failing and failing and failing, so that ultimately we can find something that speaks to all of these audiences and grow the arts. So.
Right. Oh, I wish you were here. Like, you should be on the stage. Like, we should get Catherine on the stage at some point. We should have had a light. Yeah, we should have just had a light shipped over onto the main stage or something. Okay, so I mean, the last couple of days for me, it's been quite intense in terms of realizing how free and the freedom that the young bloggers have in terms of like they have no fear whatsoever. Yeah. They're just like.
I saw some pictures of that today. That was cool.
Yeah, they were just into everything today. So yeah, tell me a little bit about Virtual Arts TV. I think it's important for us. This is going to be in recorded content after today, so other people are going to watch this, and it's kind of. We're trying to get across to the audience that will either watch this back or maybe watching from home who didn't come to the conference, that you can add these bits on, that you can bring Skypes in from other places abroad. Tell people a little bit about Virtual Arts. What is it? How long has it been going? And what's your role?
Well, you know, Virtual Arts began, and this will mean a lot to you, Phil, back in 2007 when Jeff Pulver and Chris Brogan started live streaming on Ustream.
Right.
And the first day they did that, I was like, oh my God. I was watching their first stream, and I was like, oh my God, this is something. And then they called me out. They're like, oh, Catherine Jones is in the chat room. And I was like, oh my God. Like, now I'm part of the show.
Yeah.
And that day I stopped everything and produced 7 months later the first live stream scripted content. And so I've been doing that work since then. I like to say in the States, well, in many places, we invented the modern live streaming experience, meaning we're not putting a camera in the back of the room. We are doing 4 to 5 multiple cameras. In fact, I'm going to spin around. You won't see much, but there's my TriCaster.
Yay! Jealous.
Yeah.
So jealous.
So jealous.
I'm very excited about it. TriCaster 855. So
Yeah,
we can do
yeah.
8 cameras. But what we really do is we do 2 things. We transform a live performing arts experience into something that is specific to an online environment, to a small screen. We shoot fast, we shoot close up, we shoot as many cameras as possible, we shoot things that people wouldn't see in the live house. We also incorporate our audience as much as we can into the experience. We let them take pictures, we let them Twitter, we broadcast their comments onto our stage when it's appropriate. We will sometimes let them finish their stories. We do all sorts of things, in some ways not as advanced as what people are doing in Europe, in some ways just different, a little bit more old school, but that's just kind of where we're starting. We're in baby steps, but multi-camera live streams of performing arts so that every theater, dance, and music piece can have a global audience, and everyone in that audience feels like they're in the front row and feels like they are a part of the experience.
Oh, my God. I mean, how awesome is that? I mean, you're singing to the converted, really. I was the same, in fact, like 2007, 2008. I think it was Blog TV, and I watched Jeff Pulver and Gio in a car. In a car with live streaming. We're in a car live streaming. It was like, dude, I'm not quite sure if that's safe, especially with Gio, like with the camera and doing all this. But it was that kind of disruptive, early kind of, we can do it. You know, like we have the technology to do it. And I think
it's cool stories,
it's moved
isn't
on,
it? I think those stories of where you started from. I mean, I remember I really like to ask people, where did you start from in terms of tech? When did the equipment that you used to do your job turn into the technology of tech?
Right.
And as I say, hello, somebody.
Hello, somebody.
This is one of my partners. This is Matt.
Hello, Matt.
Hello.
Hello, Matt with a badge. Hello, Matt with a badge. Hey, Matt. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you guys?
I'll be better if I can see your head. It's like I'm talking to a T-shirt, a shirt. There you go. There you go. There's a face there. Awesome. How you doing, Matt? So what do you do? What's your role?
I'm a director of photography and also have been using the TriCaster with Catherine for since the beginning of time, it feels like.
So, Phil, and back to what you're saying about where we came from.
Please.
I met Matt at For Your Imagination. Remember For Your Imagination?
Okay.
Phil was there.
Okay.
So Matt and I worked together there, and now we work together here.
And I think that's important, actually, that we get this across to culture agencies, is that, you know, where the story of the team that comes in.
The community, of
it's
social
super important
technologists.
because those guys know each other, how to work together. It's like we've just worked with a streaming team called Sonic, and Ollie has been a ledge. And I wish I bought a bottle of, like, Kraken rum from the UK just to give him to say, dude, he's got a table full of kit, and you know how hardcore that is. He's been chopping and changing networks and all sorts. So we've lightly touched on virtual arts. What kind of things are virtual arts doing in the US now? Like, what is the thing that you would love to be doing, like, en masse?
Well, you know, the goal is to have content every night, to have our own space and to be shooting. Like, my goal is not... You talk to a lot of people in the world, they're all working on Broadway. They're all working on streaming Broadway. Broadway's awesome, costs $1 million to $1.5 million, and there's not that much inventory. Right. But there are theater, music, and dance companies all over the country in the tens of thousands with content that is streamable every night that generally don't sell out their audience. When they do, it's a house of 99 people.
Right.
So there's so much opportunity. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. We had a bit of a...
So that's the long-term goal. It happens. So long-term goal is content every night. Short-term goal, we're streaming to schools all over the U.S. We're doing 4 different shows, educational, to schools this year.
Okay, cool. I mean, for me, like, when you talk about stuff like that, actually, virtual arts sounds like you're positioning yourself to be kind of the BitTorrent or P2P of, like, you know, media in terms of accessibility. You're like a democratic way of just... Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the schools. I think we had a conversation. It might have been you, might have been somebody else, I suppose. Maybe you're doing something with schools. Are you going to do some outreach to schools or something? We had a bit of a brief chat,
when we were at
I think.
Cyber Salon.
Yeah, a brief chat about that, I think.
Oh. Well, the totally new thing for us, but we have 4 shows, some terrific shows, and we are hoping to stream them to schools all over the country this year.
That would be amazing.
It serves a couple of purposes. And we're doing it with interactive classrooms. So every show we sell comes with 2 classes before the show and 1 class after show that is Common Core curriculum, which won't mean anything to you, nor should it, but it's something that matters in the United States, for better or for worse.
All right.
There's a lot of debate about it. But we're hoping that it will not only bring live interactive theater to students all over the world, and shows like The Tempest and Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, hopefully, like things they read, but also things that are more that are about South Africa, like bringing live theater to classrooms. We're also hoping it will become a financial platform to which we can then build stuff that is creative for adults. Right. So we're hoping it serves 2 purposes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Would you love to work with sort of the Nordic regions? I think you'd really, yeah, you see that? Yes, straight away. It's like, get me on a plane. You've got to see the scenery here. Darling, the scenery is just, oh my God, it's just amazing. Like, the last 2 days have just been stunning, really. Right, so we're going to close this up because it's the end of the day. We've had like 2 massive days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We wanted you on the stream. So where do people find it? Obviously, Virtual Arts TV on Twitter. VirtualArts.com?
VirtualArts.tv.
Okay, perfect. Catherine, it's been a pleasure. Love you.
Well, I love you guys.
And I'll see you soon. Bye.
See you later.
See you later.
Bye.
So it's goodbye to Catherine, and also thank you guys.
We've got to say bye to our stream.
We have. So thank you so much, and that just leaves us to say goodbye.
Yeah, and I just want to finish with the tech guys behind the scene. I know there's other guys in the main room, but Ollie has been a gem from Sonic. If you want to do live streaming in the Nordic regions, Sonic are the guys to go
Sonic.
to. That's it from me today. At Phil Campbell on Twitter.
At PCM Creative on Twitter.
And we'll see you soon.